Hello, welcome back to this channel. My name is Christian Paul, and today we're going to talk about something that I think you will consider very interesting and very important. It's about a singer, a Latin American singer that's being used recently for some political stances and for some political activism, and he's probably one of the artists or Latin American artists that's being well uh, publicized, and it's being, I can say, well heard. His music has been sold for thousands and millions of copies. But nonetheless, I want to put the other side of the story. I want to actually present you the other side of the story. A side that probably many Latinos know, but a side that probably not so many American or English speakers know. And I'm talking obviously about Bad Bunny and his recent success, especially because he just received a Grammy, and it's been used also for Hollywood to portray an image of Latinos, this image that's related to the Democratic Party, that's related to the wokeism, and that's related to some kind of, as they call it, Latinx perspective of position, which is really not what's really in the minds of people in Latin America. And let me tell you a couple of points that I think it's important. First, the majority of Latinos, and I would say probably more than 90% of Latinos, are or Catholic or Protestant. Obviously, in the last recent years, you can see that many of the surveys around uh, Latinos in number, meaning Catholic in number, have been decreasing, and Protestant in number have been increasing. That's obviously because of the global context as well. We have so many missionaries and we have new churches being founded every day. So, on the one hand, that's a perspective that can tell you that many of the Latin Americans, and I would say without any doubt, that the majority do not believe in abortion, do not believe in gender ideology, do not believe in euthanasia, and all of these ideas around the progressive side of politics, especially the American side of politics. So when you present Bad Bunny as probably not saying it straightforward, but presenting him as the representative of the Latinx and with X, which is also a new vocabulary that they've been trying to impose not only in English but in Spanish as well, with the use of different endings instead of male and female endings that we have in Spanish. They try to use the E as an ending for inclusion. Same thing as in English. Nonetheless, that's not really the position of the majority of Latinos. And on the other hand, something that I think it was important, or it's important to mention, is that we know, especially people from Latin America, that 99% of the songs that Bad Bunny has been singing during his whole career are songs about sex and lust. And that's well known, and that's why in the music industry, especially in the Spanish music industry, it's kind of like a mockery to consider reggaeton as music in itself. I know that's taking it to the extreme, but it's because of the mockery. We have very amazing ballad compositors, or we have amazing even rap and rock compositors and singers, and we've been having like a long tradition of that. And when you see reggaeton, then that it's like something that could not be considered music. Nonetheless, that doesn't deny the fact that millions and millions of youngsters listen to this music. So that's another position or another element that you have to consider. which is that many Latin Americans do not like his music because of the lyrics and the 99% of the lyrics that he's been showing. So let me show you the lyrics of one of his most famous and most heard songs, and only one of them, so you can actually have the idea of what the rest of the lyrics of the other songs can say. So this is the song called Diles, a very famous song. And let me just read to you the chorus and what the chorus says. Okay? I'm gonna read it in English. Tell them that I know your favorite positions, that I talk to you bad, and that excites you, that I do to you everything you need to make you calm, and tell them that I know your favorite positions, that I talk to you bad and that excites you, that I do to you everything you need to make you calm, and keeps on going. So that gives you the idea of the lyrics that he's been using for the majority, I would say 99% of his career. And it's just in the recent album that now he's singing a bit about social issues that gives you at least the suspicion that he's trying to relaunch his career in the English environment, and there is no other way of there is no better way to relaunch his career singing about social issues and singing about some progressive ideas. So in the recent development of his career, I would say that's not that he has changed. It's not that he doesn't believe that this other type of music he is not going to sing anymore. I think he's going to do it, and I think he's going to keep on doing that. What he just realized is that it's so convenient for his career to be part of the Hollywood movies and to be part of the Grammys and to talk about journalists and so on and so on, relaunching his career with some progressive instances. So, why is this important and why is this problematic? According to some recent statistics, and these statistics you can actually see it in Spotify, I'm going to leave the link also in the description of this video. Bad Bunny, the listeners of his music are 70% between the ages of 13 and 24, which means that at least 60% of his listeners are teenagers. And if you're singing to those teenagers about sex, lust, and not only that, making the combination of that with some progressive instances and with some progressive ideas, you have the picture. It's the best way to get to these youngsters, and it's the best way to get to the Latino public, getting a clear linkage between these ideas of the liberty in sexual instances, and on the other hand, these ideas of social progressivism with abortion and so on and so on and so on, and that these both things come together. But as I said before, these are not ideas that the majority believe, and actually, you can see a new revolution in Latin America, especially in the youngsters that are going to the universities. You can see it in El Salvador, you can see it in Argentina. The new revolution is to be a new conservative, to live apart of this wokeism and to live apart all this imperialism, because wokeism is part of a new empire of ideas that are trying to impose in these countries. Actually, if you see the laws of abortion that have been established in many of these Latin American countries, it's not because people went for a referendum and voted in favor of that. No, no, it has been actually through the international institutions, through the human rights institutions, especially the IDH, which is the International Human Rights for Latin America, something like that in English. So they give some specific policy that the countries have to adopt. So the constitutional courts from our countries take that policy and they impose it, giving orders that was happening, for instance, in Ecuador, in Mexico, even in Argentina, so imposing the Congress to approve a law in favor of abortion and so on. So that's why you have many laws of abortion and many laws of um, euthanasia and so on being approved in these countries, but not because the majority agree with that. That's not the issue. It's because it's being imposed through some international linkage with these organizations. So when you consider that and you see the revolution that our youngsters are living, you can actually see that from this perspective, the music that Bad Bunny has been singing in the last years is not appealing, and it's being less appealing as every year continues. I said at the beginning that millions of people are listening to his songs. That's true. That's the teenagers, and as I said, the majority of his listeners are teenagers. But to then say that he's the representative of our countries, that's a misunderstanding. I would say that's a misconception. That's a wrong conception, and I would say even that's the wrong idea. We have so many amazing singers. One of them, let me just show you, probably the father of all this movement of hip hop, rap, and reggae, and all reggaeton, Vico C, because he's well known in these countries. He's an amazing singer, also from Puerto Rico, and he's changed his life for so many years now. He's actually Christian singer, but he doesn't talk only about Christian issues. He talks about love, and he talks about it. Actually, much of his music is about dancing. It's an amazing musician, but no one is talking about him anymore. Another amazing musician is Juan Luis Guerra. Juan Luis Guerra from Dominican Republic. He's got so many also Grammy awards. And it's his life is an example of how many of our singers live with a family, with the idea of God, with the idea of living in a country with values and with moral limitations. So that's why it's problematic in the sense that the idea that's being fostering that now Bad Bunny is the image of the Latinos. That's wrong. It's not true for all the issues that I've been telling you. And on the other hand, uh, you have to take into consideration that there is something changing in the context, in the political and cultural context in our countries. There are so many youngsters coming back to religion, so many youngsters that see the revolution as being a conservative, and that we see this usage of the image of Bad Bunny as a well thought uh, try or intent to foster the idea that if we want to be cool and we want to be part of Hollywood in all this context, we have to follow his steps. And that's, as I said, it's not true. So that's for today. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.